Okay, so this gracious word, it's a big word, but it has a simple meaning. Gracious means getting what we don't deserve. And in the word gracious is the word grace. So to use that word, God shows us grace by giving us what we don't deserve. God is gracious because he gives us what we don't deserve. God is a God of grace. I'm so glad he is, because there are so many ways I don't deserve him. I don't deserve this gift that he's giving me. Now, at church with you guys, I need some grace sometimes. I promise Reed I'll bring him some candy and I forget. I ask him for grace. Reed, will you forgive me? I messed up. Or I'm late. Oops, I'm late a lot. And I have to ask for grace for you to forgive me. Oh, okay? Grace. When you get what you don't deserve. Maybe you disobeyed your parents, and instead of grounding you, they feed you supper. You get what you don't deserve. Grace is a hard thing to give sometimes. When someone is mean or ugly and we give them kindness, when we show them compassion and love after they've been so ugly to us, we offer grace to someone else. We offer grace because we understand God gave me grace and now I'm going to give it to others. It's what God calls us to do. It's what God gives us. And we're going to practice that this week. We're going to think about grace. We're going to think about how God gives us grace. And we're going to practice giving it out to the world around us. When we understand that God is gracious and that he gives us things that we don't deserve, God gives me salvation, offers it to me, and I don't deserve it. I didn't do anything good enough to get it. I can't do anything good enough to get it. He's just giving me a gift. Because from the beginning of time, God had a plan. He had a plan to offer me salvation. He had a plan to fix the sin problem that we created. He has a plan, and we have learned that he is just, so he will fulfill his plan. He will do what he says he's going to do. We have learned that he has a plan for goodness. He is good. He wants goodness for me. He wants good things for me. He wants me to learn. We have learned that he has mercy for me. When I mess up, he grants me forgiveness. And now we are learning that he is gracious. When I don't deserve it, he still loves me. And it's the same thing for you. When you don't deserve it, when you mess up, when you turn away from him over and over again, God is there. God is showing his love to you in ways all around you. And we're going to work this week to put our mind and our hearts focused on how God shows his grace to you and to me. Okay, today's story is going to come from the book of 1 Samuel. And it's going to be a story about Elkanah and Hannah and Samuel and a few other people. So check it out. There was a man named Elkanah who lived with his two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah was mean to Hannah because God had not given her any children. Every year, Elkanah went to the tabernacle to worship God. Hannah and Peninnah went with him, and every year Peninnah would tease Hannah until she wept. Hannah went to the tabernacle and prayed to God. Weeping with many tears, she promised, "Lord, if you give me a son, he will serve you all his life." Stop there. Let's just make sure that you understand what's going on. Hannah does not have any kids, and she wants so bad to have a kid. Okay? And so she's traveling with her husband, and Peninnah is being mean. She is teasing Hannah because Hannah does not have kids. And it's making Hannah cry. Hannah is so upset. It says that she wept. And she went to the tabernacle, weeping with many tears. And she promised, "Lord, if you give me a son, he will serve you all his life." Eli, the priest, was sitting nearby. He couldn't hear her, but he saw her lips moving. Eli thought she was drunk and scolded her. But Hannah said, "My heart is broken. I have been pouring out my heart to the Lord." So Eli said, "Go in peace. May God answer your prayers." Hannah returned home, and God did answer her prayers. She had a son, and she named him Samuel. When Samuel was no longer a baby, Hannah took him to Eli at the tabernacle. She reminded Eli of who she was. "God gave me this boy," she said, "and now I give him to the Lord." Hannah went back home and left Samuel with Eli to serve God. Every year, she made Samuel a new robe and took it to him. God gave Hannah 3 more sons and 2 daughters. Now Eli was very old. His sons were also priests, but they were wicked men who sinned against God. Samuel pleased God, though. One night, the Lord called to Samuel. Samuel thought Eli had called him. He ran to Eli and said, "Here I am." But Eli said, "I didn't call you. Go back and lie down." Twice more, the Lord called to Samuel, and twice more, Samuel ran to Eli. After the 3rd time, Eli finally understood that God was the one calling Samuel. He told Samuel what to say. Once again, God called Samuel, "Samuel, Samuel." I imagine he sounded a little more authoritative than that, but he was getting Samuel's attention. This time, Samuel answered, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Then God told Samuel that he was going to judge Eli's sons for their sins. The next day, Eli asked what God had said. Samuel was afraid to tell him, but Eli insisted. Then Eli said, "He is the Lord. He will do what he thinks is good." As Samuel grew, God was with him. Everyone in Israel knew that Samuel was God's messenger. Check it out. Hannah had wanted a baby so bad, and she got sad because people were teasing her. I get teased. I'm sure you get teased sometimes at home or at school. It happens. We get sad. We cry. Do we run to God in prayer? Do we think to ask God for help in those situations? Not often enough. So Hannah gets sad and she weeps. She runs to pray, to ask for God's help. And what does he do? He helps her. He gives her a baby in her belly, and she has a son who grows up to be a man that God is talking to, a man who loves God. God shows his grace to Hannah by giving her a child. She wasn't able to have one, and God put a baby in her belly because God loved Hannah, and he was showing her grace. He is a gracious God. He gives us things when we don't deserve it. He gave Hannah Samuel, who grew up to be this man who loved God, and he talked to Samuel and had a deep relationship with Samuel. Samuel became a prophet to the nation of Israel, and he used God's words to tell the people what God is like. John 1:1 says that Jesus is the Word. God sent Jesus to earth as God in the flesh. Jesus showed the world what God is like, and he told people to turn away from their sin. Jesus ultimately gave sinful people the power to stop sinning by dying for their sins on the cross and rising again. God is gracious. He shows us grace every day. In the world around us, we see flowers, we see beautiful sunsets. Oh, last night was the best. God shows his love and mercy and grace for us each day. He shows it to us in the salvation that he offers us as a free gift, as saving us from death, as fixing that sin problem that we have and restoring our